Hi, and welcome to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast presented by Wolf Precision Incorporated, where we learn about and share long range shooting and custom rifle building. I am your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to episode 181 of Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast. My name is Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. In this episode, we're going to talk about a Christmas present giveaway still coming up. We're going to talk about reloading, why you can't afford not to, and talk about some upcoming PRC episodes. So it ought to be a great podcast. Want to wish everybody out there a very Merry Christmas coming right around the corner. Happy New Year, and hopefully a great shooting year in 2024. So without further ado, here we go. All right, before we get started, I want to say a quick thank you to TriggerTech. TriggerTech is the maker of fine rifle triggers. We recommend them to be put in all of our custom rifle building kits here. They make single stage, two stage, curved shoes, straight shoes, smooth shoes, lots of different makes and models for lots of different rifles, including ARs, bolt guns. They really are, in my opinion, the best in the world at what they do because they're safe, they're easy to install, and they're easy to adjust. So if you want to upgrade your game and you want to do it with the trigger, we recommend TriggerTech, and you can learn more about them at triggertech.com. That's triggertech.com today. We would also like to thank MDT. MDT is the maker of fine rifle chassis. They are our Canadian friends in the north. They make lots of different great makes and models, everything from the J. Allen to the Oryx, which I think is the most unsung hero in the chassis market today. They make a lot of competition chassis and a lot of hunting chassis. They are almost like the chassis kings. So if you want to upgrade your game and you want to do it with a rifle chassis to get their rifle to fit you better, and to allow it to be more adjustable, to allow for options and upgrades, you can stop over to mdttech.com. That's mdttech.com today. So in this episode, we're going to talk about reloading and, in my opinion, why you cannot afford not to. We had just sent one of our guys out to buy some 6.5 PRC ammo. We're testing some rifles, getting things ready to ship for Christmas. Yes, Santa does take and deliver rifles down the chimney for Christmas for a lot of fine and lucky gentlemen and ladies out there. We're super excited. One of the Christmas presents that Santa will be delivering is a very short, very light Bumblebee rifle in .223 for a lucky 10 or 11-year-old girl that's getting ready to go on her first pig hunt. So, we're blessed that we get to be part of it. We're blessed that we get to get our hands on and do something really cool that's going to hopefully introduce somebody into shooting and to go out and have lots of great success, enjoy themselves, have great accuracy, just learn and grow into the sport. So for all of the customers out there, we have had a really great year this year, and we're getting busier and busier all the time. We want to say thank you for all of the great opportunities you've given us to be a part of your lives, be a part of your shooting world, and entrusting us in building your custom rifle. Now, that said, I just did a blog post, and I really recommend if you want to learn a little bit about Wolf Precision or if you want just some fun stuff to read, I try to keep the blogs very light-hearted. I also try to keep them a little funny, not so serious all the time. And we post them up on our website. So if you go to our website, it's wolfprecision.net, and you'll look in the tabs above, and you'll see blog. I try to, at least once a week, if not every other week, post up a nice little blog for some food for thoughts. Just really give everybody a helping hand or some ideas or some suggestions or just food for thought. And in this case, we're talking about reloading. So if you want some interesting reads, especially the little blog we just wrote on reloading, you can stop over to wolfprecision.net and take a peek at that there. Now, we went up and we get our ammo at a little bit of a discount because, we're in the industry and we shoot a lot of it, thank God, right? But they went up and bought 4 boxes of 6.5 PRC, 2 different brands, and the bill came in at almost $200. And it just shined a light on where we're at in our industry, where we're at in the shooting world. I don't know if the prices are ever really going to come back down, since a lot of the newer shooters have only been exposed to the high prices. So for us that have been in the industry for a while, paying $22 or $26 for a box of match-grade ammunition, now that's almost double, if not more. And it is almost like it's the weird new norm. And I always go back to reloading, and more now than ever, the blog post was titled Reloading You Can't Afford Not To. And we talk about a little bit on the pros and cons of why people will or will not, or sometimes hesitate to get into making ammunition for their own rifle. And I thought that would make a really great podcast here right before Christmas, just trying to encourage people the concepts that we try to really employ here and why it's not like you think. So I want to share with you just a little food for thought on reloading, and try to encourage you that if this is something that you have the attention to detail to do, that I think you're really missing out on the opportunity to grow into shooting world, to be a part of it, to really open a door to another world that gives you a little bit more hands-on experience and a little bit of pride in making your own ammunition, the money that you'll save doing it, the lack of guilt that you'll feel when you're going out to the range and blazing away. Like, for example, if I was going to a match, right, and let's just say the average match, you take 120 rounds. Well, that's 5 or 6 boxes of ammo, right? Well, I just bought 4 boxes at a discount. So when you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to go to a match at $40 a box, that's $400 and some a case. So that's $400 and some for you to go out and practice a little bit with really being an ammo miser, and then taking it to the match and shooting it there. And, you start doing this a lot through the year, or you start shooting even more expensive calibers. And I can see why guys sort of, they hurt themselves as shooting because they won't shoot as much. When you think of that round as $5 bills flying down range, your shooting changes a little bit, and even if it's $2 or $3 a round, you don't shoot 5-shot groups. You shoot 3-shot groups. You won't go out and goof around it long. You'll hold off those extra 4 or 5 shots having fun to save the ammo. And I think in us, that's sort of counterproductive and counterintuitive. If you buy an airplane and you learn to fly, you really don't want to just circle around the airport and land again. You want to go places and do things with it. And that's sort of the same thing with shooting, and why I really recommend that people get into reloading. And I want to share with you just a couple key points here. So the couple reasons that you'll hear people say why I shouldn't reload or why I can't reload would be, the first one would be the safety part of it. Now, this one I don't downplay. I always say you should self-evaluate, and if you do not have the attention to detail, right, or you don't feel that you have the discipline, or you don't feel that this is something that I don't want to say that you can't learn. You can learn it. But if you know yourself that you're just a little bit, I don't want to say airheaded at times or whatever you want to word, just distracted all the time, then, you have to self-evaluate. That part I won't play down. And if you think it's not for you because you don't think you have the attention to detail to do it safely, or your life is just too busy with too many distractions, I get it for sure, right? But the other two things that you'll hear people talk about is, the first one that they'll talk about is money, and the second one they'll talk about is the time. And I'm going to address both of those here in a podcast. When it comes to the money part of it, yes, you're going to invest a little bit of money into reloading, and you're going to buy good equipment. The problem is we are so heavily marketed to with gimmicks and gizmos and super high-end this and super high-end that. And as shooters and reloaders, we always look to the highest price stuff as being the best, and that is not always the truth. And so it used to be, $100 or $200 press was just world class. Well, now you have rifle presses that break over $1,000 or more. You've got powder throwers that are between $1,000 and $2,000. And when you start looking at all this collectively, you're like, oh man, I'm going to invest $5,000 to $10,000. And here's the downside to this. The equipment is really knowledge-based as far as you're having to learn not just the reloading processes, but now you've got to take care of this equipment that is super complex, that is not easy to calibrate, that is not easy to run through the menus. I mean, it's like going from a PC world to a Mac, but now you've got to edit a video for class tomorrow. The learning curve is huge, not because you don't know how to shoot a video or edit it. It's just that you're going into really high-end platforms and something you're not familiar with. And not only you're probably not going to be able to edit the video well, you're not even going to know where the tools are at to adjust things when you need to fix things. And that's where the problem lies. So when I approach reloading to new shooters, there were people that are coming here to the class, I approach it from the most simplistic way possible. We use hand tools. We use single-stage presses. We use a balance beam scale. We use a Redding powder thrower. We use tools that you really could go out and build yourself a really nice reloading kit for less than $500 and be making world-class ammunition. The only difference between doing it with hand tools and doing it with some of the higher end equipment, like for example, we have some auto tricklers here. They're, $1,500 a piece. We have two of them. It's just because we have to do it at scale. If I was reloading, and I have reloaded just the way that I teach it here at the class for probably close to 15, 20 years. And part of it was because I couldn't afford to buy the highest end of everything. Or back then, it really wasn't even an option. You could buy a BR2 powder thrower from Redding. You could buy a Forster press at $239, which back then was a lot of money. Now we are just bombarded with, $1,000+ pieces of equipment that are complex and not always better for sure. So the money part of it, I want to throw out there that I think it's a double down thing, that stay away from the high complex equipment, stay away from the really expensive stuff, buy yourself a very simple kit and go through it in a single step process. So for example, what we teach here is, how to find out how long your throat is. We teach you how to measure your bullet length. We teach you how to find all the reloading data in your manual. And then it's very simple. It's size to brass, right? And we teach you all the other things like trimming and deburring and all the other things that you're going to have to do your brass to keep it up with, again, hand tools, right? But you size it, you prime it, you throw your powder, you shoot your bullet, wipe it down, and you're ready to shoot. It is that easy. In the class here over 2 days, you'll actually make ammunition twice. And this isn't a sales pitch for the class. I'm just telling you, we have guys that have come through a reloading class that have been reloading for over 20 years and walk away ready to throw half of what they've learned in the trash. And it's not saying that we are the geniuses or we've refigured out everything and that we have all of these secrets. We don't. But we approach it from a by-the-book attitude. We approach it safety first, and we keep it simple and in a way that you can control each process, keep an eye on it, micromanage it, and end up with world-class ammunition every single time. And I always say even a brand new reloader will make ammunition better than you can buy. So the first part is you do not have to go out and buy the really expensive stuff. Sure, it's great to buy and it's fun to brag about. It's cool to have one your man cave that's going to turn into your reloading area, but it's not necessary. And sometimes, like for example, a Dillon, great presses, right? But having 4 or 5 things happening every time you turn the handle is not good for a new reloader. They can't keep an eye on all of those processes at one time. They're not skilled enough in any of those processes, let alone to have them all happening at one pull of the handle. So single stage presses, simple processes, learn it by the book and go get it. So I joke around and say it all the time. When I was a kid, I started reloading young when I was with my dad and was shooting a 6.5 by 55 Swede. That was the first round I ever reloaded for. And I will say that I had so much fun doing it. It was like, A, for me, you're now part of the process, right? B, you get to shoot a lot more because you're going to go to the range and test ammo. And spending time there, the whole part of it is that using 30, 40-year-old equipment and going out and making ammunition that literally could drive the tax out of paper at 100 yards was just absolutely amazing. And then not only that, but then you're a part of the process and you're going to shoot a lot more, you're going to test a lot more, and you are going to save money. Now, here's the other part with the presses. You can buy a really nice press from a lot of the manufacturers with all the simple tools that you're going to need to get started for anywhere from $500, $400, $600 will get you really started. We put a couple of them up on our blog post. But the other part to this is with everybody buying all this new high-end stuff, you're finding a lot of used reloading equipment, which goes for next to nothing. So you could go out and find a rock chucker press, used to be you couldn't buy one used for the price of a new one. Now you could probably go out and have really a taster's choice of it because everybody went out and bought tons of the new high-end stuff for, next to nothing, pennies on the dollar. And same thing with powder throwers, same thing with an old Redding balance beam scale. One thing about reloading equipment, it's usually well taken care of. And it's usually covered or in a cabinet, and it just doesn't go bad. Take it out, clean it up, and for $100 or $200 and a little bit of time on whether it's Facebook Marketplace or eBay or wherever, gather yourself up enough equipment to get started. But the money thing, I would say be careful with it because you can spend like crazy, but you shouldn't. And it's actually counterproductive to a new reloader because it's going to make it a lot more complex than it has to be. So the flip side to the money is you're going to save a ton on your shooting, right? Which is going to afford you to go out and shoot more. You're going to test more. You load up a bunch of rounds and you go out to shoot with your buddies. You're not going to feel bad putting some extra rounds downrange on target, having fun, which, for me, reneging on the fun because you don't want to spend an extra $20 on a box of ammo is sort of like really counterproductive. We don't have that many hobbies. At least I don't. that you shouldn't afford yourself the chance to go out and enjoy yourself. And in reloading, you remove that. You're not going to have that guilt trip, or you're not going to worry about this crazy ammunition that, some ammo is $100 plus a box. Of course, you're not going to go out and shoot a case of that stuff up just goofing around over the weekend. But if you could make it for 35 or 40 cents a round, or 60 cents a round, or even $1 a round, would it really bother you that much to go out once in a while and put some rounds downrange? So the cost, I'll deal with it in there. The other thing you hear people say is time, right? Well, I don't have the time to do it. And I wrote a piece on the blog about it jokingly, but truthfully, if you really are going to make this your hobby, or you really love shooting, here is the one thing I will tell you about taking the time to immerse yourself more into the processes of enjoying the sport, is that it's not a waste of time. If you get into reloading, yes, you're going to put a little bit more of your time in there, right? But it is so worth the investment. If this is your hobby, if this is something that you're passionate about, then putting a little bit more time and effort into going out and making the ammunition for yourself, it will change your shooting. It will change your relationships with people. It will change how you approach shooting. It is just like going deeper in and immersing yourself more in the community. You're getting more involved in making your own ammo, which you can take some pride in. It is not a waste of time. If anything, it's a commitment to the sport that you love, that you're willing to invest a little bit more time. And there is a lot of rewards to that part of it, right? So you're going to spend 20 or 30% more time through the year in your shooting world at the bench making ammunition. But is that a bad thing? Right? I mean, I can tell you that there's so many YouTube or let's just say Netflix shows that are like 4 seasons long, as 65 videos that restart over and over again. I can tell you that there's a lot of people that probably waste a lot of time watching some things because you really don't have much else to do and it's cold outside, right? So it gives you an opportunity to go find something and be proactive in your sport, and you will find that your future self will not only thank you, but you're going to broaden your circle of friends, because reloaders like to talk reloading, right? And now you're part of that group. You got guys calling and asking for advice. You're talking about a new caliber. Hey, I've got this new cartridge, new powder I'm trying. People are watching. You're going to go to the range testing stuff all the time and experimenting with things you would never get a chance to do before, right? So if you're buying ammunition and there's a new bullet out for hunting, unless they load it in some factory form where you're going to pay a premium for it, I'm sure, you're done. You can't go out and goof around with it. But imagine like, hey, I'm going to buy a box of this, and go out and test it out. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this stuff shoots great, and the speeds are, So you just changed your shooting world and your enjoyment forever. And I will tell you that it is not a waste of time. If it is your hobby, if it's something that you're very passionate about, give yourself the chance to enjoy it, right? So if you're going to be into shooting in 2024, I think gone are the days where we could go out and buy a case of ammunition for $200 and some. And I think, for me, here's the third part to it, and something that maybe I want to dive into a little bit more is just the enjoyment that you're going to get out of making the ammunition. I know that sounds silly, but I really find it to be quite a happy place to sit in a reloading room with nothing, no music, just making ammunition. I remember for the first 20 years I made ammunition on the simplest of processes, something very similar to what we teach here at the school. And I won and placed in many matches doing it on a single stage press with a balance beam scale, manual powder thrower, and a manual priming tool. I mean, that's what I had. I didn't have the money to go out and buy. And even back then, there wasn't the option to go out and buy anything crazier than maybe something like a Dillon, which automated some things, right? And I remember, having fun with it. Like, so for example, I went out to spend some time with the president of Savage Arms. His name's Ron Coburn. And we were out at a shooting event, and they were chronographing people's rifles. Of course, I had a 308 back then, and they pulled 5 rounds out, and they chronographed. And this is in front of a group of people, right? My standard deviation, and my dad was with me, so I have witnesses, was 1. So 5 rounds went over the chronograph. All of these peers, keep in mind, I was young back then, all of these peers are looking, watching everybody's average speeds and standard deviations. My standard deviation across the 5 rounds was 1. The guy that chronographed it looked at me and says, I've never seen that before. And, this one of those incidences, yes, it was lucky. Of course it was lucky, right? You could have pulled any other round out of there and my standard deviation would have been all over the place. But for whatever reason, they pulled the 5 lucky ones out. And those are those scenarios where you just blow on your fingers and rub them on your shirt, and say, yes, that's right, right? Guys were asking me like, oh my God, what's your secret? How are you doing it? What do you do? How's your press? What do are you kneeling? All these things that people just now flock to you, like, some secret. And honestly, it was all luck. But how cool was that it was in front of the president of Savage Arms, and even his eyebrow was raised a little bit like, wow, that's pretty impressive, right? That's the part with hand loading, right? You get to go out and have fun with it. You get to take part or be proactive in the accuracy of your rifle, the accuracy of your groups, the accuracy at distance. You get to be proactive on selecting the correct components that are for your hunting, whether it's going to be temperature sensitive, whether you're after a slower burning powder. There's so many cool things you can do and it's fun. At the range, not only you're putting your equipment to the test, but your reloading skills. So yes, I do believe that most people can find the time to do it. And I often find that once they commit, that it does change their shooting because they're now more involved in every other part of the shooting world. Like now it's not just going out and pulling the trigger. Now they're making the ammunition. And so there's a whole nother level to this enjoyment that you're going to learn and grow and become proactive and part of. And it's going to widen your circle of friends because a lot of the people that do shoot reload and they love to talk this stuff, right? So now you've just, got a bigger group of friends to talk to about as well. So before we continue on today, I do want to say a quick thank you to Krieger Barrels. They are a family-owned and operated business. They are from the great state of Wisconsin. They make world-class cut rifled barrels. I think they're the best in the world at what they do. And they offer a new program called Krieger Direct, where you can log on and purchase your barrel and have it in as little as 2 to 3 business days. Now, that might sound like a little bit of a sales pitch, but I remember years and years ago, through multiple cycles of the industry picking up and slowing down. But I remember when lead times were over a year for us ordering barrels from Krieger. So the fact that you can log on and buy one now and have it in that short time, to me, absolutely amazing. That's really cool. So if you want the best thing you need now, you can stop over to KriegerDirect.com. That's KriegerDirect.com. So a couple quick thank yous. Of course, we're winding up at the end of the year. It's been a great year. Really enjoyed 2023. Really looking forward to 2024. So we're giving away a chassis. It's really cool. XLR called up and said, hey, we have a chassis here for you. It's in Christmas colors. It's red with a black buttstock on it, and it's yours to give away. I was like, oh, you're kidding me. So we really built a lot of great relationships over the years. So if you want to win a chassis, it's an XLR Element, top of the line, right? You can stop over to and register for our newsletter on our website. 2 ways you have to be registered to win is register for our newsletter online at wolfprecision.net and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you do both of those, you're in the running, and we're going to announce the winner on January 1st here on the podcast. So you got to do both. And if you're already registered for both or subscribed to our YouTube channel and newsletter, you're already in the running and you didn't even know. It's pretty cool. So don't miss out. You've got less than a week and a half to go. Get over there, get registered. Best of luck, and we hope you win the chassis on January 1st. What a way to start the year, right? On the other side of it, we want to thank everybody that's taking advantage of our online long-range shooting school. Really appreciate it. It took us 2 years, and we now have over 18 hours of instructional video on there. It's our in-person shooting school that you can take from the convenience and comfort of your own home. It is a monthly fee, so it's $49.95 a month. Usually takes about 2-3 months to finish the class, but we're really excited to have it up there. We think it's a great resource. Thank you, everybody that's made that possible and for attending. Also, we would like to thank everybody that signed up for our Wolf Pack. So for $3 a month, you can support the show. You can stop over to Patreon. Thank you, everybody that makes that possible. We buy lots of cool equipment here that we got to use to record and edit. And we are trying to set up a studio that we can actually record the podcast and just put it live on YouTube with a video attached, which would be pretty cool. And then last but not least, we want to say and wish everybody a Merry Christmas. One of those things that the holidays are here. 2023 is in the book. It's time to spend and time with the family and reflect and be grateful and thankful for all the blessings we've been given and all the opportunities in life that are here and now. And it's just every year I step back and just sit in awe sometimes about all the wonderful things and relationships and people we get to meet. And it's such a big world, but a small world at the same time. I just want to wish everybody out there a very, very Merry Christmas and hope you celebrate your holidays and whichever religion you are, whichever faith you walk in, whether just a holiday season or it's Merry Christmas, we wish the best for you out there and really looking forward to a wonderful 2024. If you enjoy the podcast and you would like to share it, please feel free. That helps us a lot. If you enjoy it and you'd like to leave a comment down below, that helps us a lot with our ratings as well. And again, from all of us here at Wolf Precision, we really appreciate all the support over the years. We've been doing this for nearly 2 decades. To go back to the reloading, I will share with you that I reloaded on just the process of single-stage hand tools for more than 20 years. We have come so far over the last even to 10 years, you wouldn't recognize us as a business. And it's really all because of all the great listeners and customers and support that we've received, all the relationships that we've had the opportunity to build over the years, and those that have really, entrusted our business in all the things that we do to help them do the best that they can at their sport and something that we're passionate about doing, So it is all of you that have made our dreams come true and being able to be in the industry that we're in and serving you in the way that we do. And we never want to forget that. So again, I just want to say a quick thank you. And I hope everybody has a great Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll do one more podcast. We'll probably launch it on January 1st with the winner announced. So don't forget to stop over and get registered for the stock giveaway. And again, thank you, XLR, for out of the blue calling and offering to give it away to one of our listeners or customers. So again, thank you everybody for taking the time to join us here on the podcast. We really appreciate it. My name is Jamie Dotson and I'm your host. And you're listening to Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building Podcast.